The conference room smells like old leather and fresh grief. I barely settle into my chair before Dylan slams his palm on the mahogany table. "She's a gold digger," he spits, pointing straight at me. "Dad was sick when he changed the will." Paige crosses her arms, her designer heels clicking against the floor. "You manipulated him while we weren't looking." The estate attorney, Ms. Willis, clears her throat and adjusts her glasses. The will sits open before her like evidence at a trial. My hands shake as I grip the chair arms. "I never manipulated anyone," I whisper, but my voice gets lost in the thick tension. Dylan laughs, sharp and bitter.
"Right.
"That's why you got the lake house and half the estate." His eyes burn with accusation. 2 years of marriage, and you think you deserve what took him 40 years to build. Paige leans forward, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "We know what you did, and we're going to prove it." The room spins slightly. Everyone stares at me like I'm already guilty. But they don't know what I know. They don't know about the cameras. The fluorescent lights hum overhead, casting harsh shadows across the polished table. I think about Easton lying in his hospital bed just 4 months ago, holding my hand and promising everything would be okay. He knew this moment would come. Ms. Willis reads the will with clinical precision. "To my beloved wife, I leave the lake house property and 50% of all remaining assets." Dylan's face turns red. "This is insane. Dad would never." She holds up her hand. "There's more. The business shares are split equally among all 3 beneficiaries." Paige whispers loudly to their lawyer, Mr. Stone.
"We're contesting this."
"Undue influence." Her words carry across the room like poison. I feel my cheeks burn, but I keep my mouth shut. Mr. Stone nods and scribbles notes on his yellow pad. Ms. Willis warns them about the no contest clause. Any beneficiary who challenges the will without good cause forfeits their entire inheritance. Dylan smirks. "We'll take that risk." Paige adds, "When you're dealing with a thief, you have to fight back." My stomach twists. They came here ready for war. But I remember something my late husband told me just weeks before he died. "Sometimes people show their true colors when they think no one's watching," he'd said, tapping the small black device on his desk. "Good thing I'm always watching." The irony isn't lost on me. They're so confident in their accusations, so certain they can rewrite history. If only they knew Easton had been recording their every move for months. Outside the law office, rain dusts the sidewalk like tears. I fumble with my car keys, hands still shaking from the confrontation. My phone buzzes with a text from my coworker at the medical billing office where I work part-time. Saw Paige's Facebook post. "Don't let them get to you." I open social media and immediately regret it. Paige's status update reads, "When someone marries your dying father for money and thinks they can get away with it. Justice coming soon." The comments below make my skin crawl. "So sorry for your loss. Fight for what's yours. Gold diggers never win." I close the app and lean against my car. People at the grocery store, the bank, everywhere I go, they'll see this. They'll think I'm exactly what Dylan and Paige say I am. A thief. A manipulator. Someone who preyed on a sick old man. But they're wrong. And soon I'll prove it. I just need to find the courage to look at what my husband left me. Not money or property, but something far more valuable. The truth. My reflection stares back from the car window, a woman I barely recognize anymore. 3 months of grief have aged me, but maybe it's time to stop being a victim and start being a fighter. That evening, I unlock Easton's study for the first time since his funeral 3 months ago. Everything sits exactly as he left it. His coffee mug still holds a ring of dried residue. His reading glasses rest folded on yesterday's newspaper. The room smells like his aftershave and old books. I run my fingers along his desk, remembering how he'd sit here for hours, managing his construction business and planning our future together. The bottom drawer sticks slightly when I pull it open. Inside, beneath stacks of old invoices and tax papers, something catches my eye. A small black dome sits tucked behind his desktop computer. It's no bigger than a tennis ball, with a tiny red light that blinks once when I touch it. My heart skips. I remember the day he installed it, climbing on a stepladder to position it just right. Security system, he'd explained when I asked. Just in case. In case of what, I'd wondered then. Now I think I know. Easton was always careful, always thinking 3 steps ahead. He built his business from nothing by watching people, learning their patterns, protecting what mattered. And, apparently, he was still protecting things even after death. The weight of discovery settles on my shoulders. Easton had suspected something might happen. He'd prepared for this exact moment, leaving me the tools to defend myself against his own children's betrayal. I find a small flash drive taped under the desk drawer, labeled Office Cam, backup, in Easton's neat handwriting. My palms sweat as I plug it into his old laptop. The computer whirs to life, desktop appearing with folders organized by date. The video files span back 6 months. Hundreds of clips, each time-stamped and labeled. My throat tightens as I realize what I'm looking at. Easton recorded everything that happened in this room. Every conversation, every visitor, every moment when he thought he was alone. I click on the most recent file, dated just 2 weeks before he died. The study appears on screen, empty at first. Then footsteps echo from the hallway. My breath catches as Dylan enters the frame, looking over his shoulder like he's checking for witnesses. He goes straight to the filing cabinet and starts pulling out folders. Not carefully, not respectfully. He's hunting for something specific. Papers scatter across the floor as he dumps entire files into his backpack. When his phone rings, he answers on speaker. Any luck? Paige's voice fills the room. Still looking, Dylan replies. But I'll find that safety deposit box key before she does. The audio quality is crystal clear. Every word, every sound, captured in perfect detail. Easton had invested in professional equipment, ensuring nothing would be missed or misunderstood. He'd built an unshakable case against his own children. The next video clip makes my blood freeze. Easton sits in his wheelchair, pale and exhausted from chemotherapy. Dylan stands over him holding a thick document. Just sign it, Dad. It's temporary, just until you feel better. But Easton shakes his head weakly. I already have a power of attorney. Your stepmother handles everything. Dylan's voice turns sharp. She doesn't understand the business like we do. This protects your interests. He pushes the paper closer. Where is she anyway? Easton looks toward the door. At work. She doesn't know you're here. Good, Dylan mutters. She doesn't need to complicate things. He tries again to get Easton to sign, but my husband's hand trembles as he pushes the document away. Not today, son. I'm too tired. Dylan's mask slips for just a moment. Frustration flashes across his face, replaced quickly by fake concern. Dad, you're not thinking clearly. The medication, the stress, you need family to help make decisions. But Easton just closes his eyes. Call me when you're ready to discuss this properly, Dylan says, stuffing the unsigned papers into his jacket. The timestamp shows this happened while I was at work, completely unaware that Dylan was pressuring his dying father. My hands clench into fists, watching him manipulate Easton's weakness for personal gain. I make coffee at midnight and start taking notes. Dates, times, details that make my heart pound with rage and relief. Relief that I'm not crazy, that my instincts were right. Rage that they started this campaign while their father was still fighting for his life. Another clip shows Paige in the study 3 weeks before Easton died. She's photographing documents with her phone, taking pictures of bank statements and property deeds. When she finds the safe behind the bookshelf, she tries different combinations. Birth dates, anniversaries, social security numbers. The safe doesn't open, but she doesn't give up. She calls someone and whispers, I need the locksmith contact you used last year. The discreet one. Then she notices something on Easton's desk and freezes. Her eyes move upward, scanning the ceiling. For a terrifying moment, she stares directly at the camera. But the device is small and dark, mounted high enough to blend with the ceiling fixtures. She shrugs and continues searching through drawers. Before leaving, she places everything back exactly as she found it. Professional. Calculated. Like she'd done this before. My notebook fills with evidence, each entry more damning than the last. They'd been planning this for months, maybe longer. Every family dinner, every hospital visit, they'd been calculating how to steal their father's legacy while wearing masks of grief and concern. At work the next morning, I asked John, our IT specialist, if he can help me organize some video files. Sure, he says without asking questions. Digital evidence needs proper formatting anyway. He copies everything to a secure drive and shows me how to export clips with metadata intact. Timestamps matter in court, he explains, adjusting his glasses. Chain of custody, original file dates, all that technical stuff lawyers love. I thank him and slip the new drive into my purse. It feels like carrying dynamite. At lunch, Sharon from the front desk sits beside me in the break room. I saw the social media posts, she says quietly. For what it's worth, I never believed them. Easton talked about you all the time. That man was crazy in love. Her words bring tears I've been holding back for days. They're going to contest the will, I tell her. She nods. Then you fight back. Easton was sharp until the very end. If he left you that house, he had good reasons. She pats my hand. Sometimes the truth takes time to surface, but it always does. Her kindness reminds me that not everyone believes Dylan and Paige's version of events. Easton had friends and colleagues who knew him well, who witnessed our genuine relationship. I'm not as alone in this fight as I thought. The first court hearing is scheduled for next month. Their lawyer files motion after motion, requesting financial records, medical documents, anything to prove Easton wasn't mentally competent when he updated his will. Each paper feels like another accusation.
But I have a secret weapon now.
The videos show Easton lucid, thoughtful, making deliberate decisions. More importantly, they show Dylan and Paige's true intentions. I copy the most damning clips to a separate drive and schedule a meeting with Ms. Willis. This changes everything, she says after watching Dylan rifle through the filing cabinet. We need to preserve all the original footage and get timestamps verified by a digital forensics expert. She leans back in her chair. They walked right into their own trap. I think about the no contest clause Easton insisted on including. At the time, it seemed harsh. Now I understand. He knew his children better than I did. He knew exactly what they'd do when he was gone. And he made sure they'd pay for it. The legal process feels overwhelming, but having concrete evidence gives me strength. No more relying on character witnesses or circumstantial proof. The truth is captured in high definition, time-stamped and undeniable. Easton had given me the ultimate weapon against his children's lies. Eli, the handyman who helped Easton remodel the study last year, calls me unexpectedly. I probably should have mentioned this sooner, he says, his voice nervous. But Paige offered me $500 last month to change the safe combination while you were at work. My heart stops. What did you tell her?
He sighs.
I told her I didn't know the combination and wouldn't change it anyway. But she kept pushing, said it was for Easton's own protection. I thought you should know. He texts me screenshots of their conversation. Paige's messages are careful, coded, but clear enough. Easton forgets things now. We need access to important documents. Just this once. When Eli refuses, she gets aggressive. This is family business. You work for us. But Eli stayed loyal to Easton. Your husband was good to me, he explains. Gave me work when nobody else would. I wasn't about to betray that. I add his testimony to my growing file. Every piece of evidence makes me stronger, makes their lies more obvious. It's remarkable how many people Easton had touched with his kindness and integrity. Even his employees chose loyalty to him over easy money from his scheming children. His character speaks louder than their accusations ever could. I visit the bank where Easton kept his business accounts. The manager, Mrs. Kelly, recognizes me immediately. I'm so sorry for your loss, she says, guiding me to her office. Easton was one of our most valued customers. I explain the situation carefully, asking if there were any unusual access attempts on the accounts. Her expression darkens. Actually, yes. Someone tried to add themselves as an authorized user 3 times last month. The request came from an IP address we didn't recognize. She can't give me the technical details without a subpoena, but she can confirm the attempts were denied due to insufficient authorization. The requests used Easton's social security number and birth date, but the security questions were answered incorrectly, she explains. Whoever tried this didn't know his mother's maiden name or his first pet's name. I think about the videos of Paige trying different combinations on the safe. She was guessing then, too. Mrs. Kelly prints a summary for my records. This kind of unauthorized access attempt is serious. We can testify if needed. I thank her and add the bank records to my evidence file. The puzzle pieces keep fitting together perfectly. The pattern becomes clearer with each revelation. Dylan and Paige had been systematically trying to access every aspect of Easton's financial life, using information any child should know but somehow getting wrong. That weekend, I drive to the lake house for the first time since Easton died. The 2-hour drive gives me time to think, to prepare for whatever emotions wait for me there. The house sits on a small hill overlooking the water, surrounded by pine trees and memories. I unlock the front door and step inside. Everything smells like Easton's cologne and the cedar logs he loved to burn in the fireplace. His favorite fishing rod leans against the wall. His coffee cup sits in the sink, unwashed since our last visit together. I walk onto the deck and sit in his old rocking chair. The lake stretches out like glass, reflecting the afternoon sun. This place meant everything to him. He bought it 20 years ago when his business first took off, back when Dylan and Paige were teenagers who complained about being stuck in the middle of nowhere. They never appreciated it, never understood why he loved the quiet, the simplicity, the escape from city stress. But I did. We'd spend weekends here, planning projects and dreaming about retirement. Now I understand why he left it to me. This wasn't just property. It was his heart. The peace here contrasts sharply with the chaos of legal battles and family betrayal. Easton had created the sanctuary, and now it would shelter me through the storm his children had created. Monday morning brings another legal filing. Dylan and Paige formally contest the will, claiming undue influence and diminished mental capacity. Their lawyer attaches a thick psychological evaluation arguing that cancer treatment affected Easton's judgment during his final months. Ms. Willis schedules an emergency meeting. They're playing hardball, she warns. But we have something they don't expect. She loads the video files on her laptop and cues up the most damaging clips. Judge Michelson will see these at the evidentiary hearing next week. We practice my testimony. How to stay calm under cross-examination. How to present the timeline clearly. How to let the videos speak for themselves without seeming vindictive. Remember, Ms. Willis says, you're not the one on trial here. They are. That night, I can barely sleep. Tomorrow, everything changes. The videos will be public record. Dylan and Paige will know I have evidence of their scheming. There's no going back after this. But Easton trusted me to protect his legacy, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. The weight of responsibility feels enormous, but I'm ready. Easton had spent his final months preparing this defense, ensuring the truth would emerge even after his death. I won't let his efforts be wasted. The courtroom is smaller than I expected. Dark wood paneling and fluorescent lights that make everyone look pale. Dylan and Paige sit with their lawyer at the defendant's table, whispering urgently. They keep glancing at me like I'm a bomb about to explode. Judge Michelson reviews the case files before beginning. This is an evidentiary hearing regarding contested will provisions. Both parties will present relevant documentation. Mr. Stone goes first, reading medical records and painting Easton as confused and manipulated. The decedent was undergoing aggressive chemotherapy, he argues. Pain medication and treatment side effects clearly impaired his decision-making abilities. The sudden change in beneficiary allocation demonstrates undue influence by the current wife. Dylan takes the witness stand and tells his version of events. How I isolated Easton from his children. How I encouraged him to change the will without consulting family. How I pressured him when he was too weak to resist. Every word is a lie, but he delivers it with convincing emotion. Then it's our turn. Ms. Willis wheels in a monitor and begins loading the video files. Your Honor, we have evidence that contradicts the plaintiff's claims. The atmosphere in the courtroom shifts. Dylan and Paige exchange worried glances, suddenly realizing they're not in control of this narrative anymore. Their confident facade begins to crack before the first video even plays. The first video plays in perfect clarity. Dylan rifling through Easton's filing cabinet while talking to Paige on speakerphone. The courtroom falls silent except for the sound of papers rustling on screen. Judge Michelson leans forward, studying every detail. "That's you in the video, correct?" Ms. Willis asks Dylan. His face turns red. "I was looking for medical documents. Dad asked me to find his insurance papers." But the audio clearly shows him searching for safety deposit box keys and bank account information. The second clip shows Paige photographing confidential documents. She tries to look defiant, but her hands shake as she watches herself attempt to crack the safe combination. "I was organizing his papers," she claims. "He was too sick to keep track of important documents." Judge Michelson pauses the video. "Ms. Chen, can you explain why you were taking photographs of these documents with your personal phone?" Paige's lawyer objects, but the judge overrules. "Answer the question." She stammers about making copies for organization, but her explanation sounds hollow even to her. The contrast between their accusations and their recorded behavior is stark. Every lie they've told about me crumbles in the face of their own documented deception. The truth Easton captured is more powerful than any defense I could have mounted alone. The third video is the most damaging. Easton, alert and coherent, explicitly rejecting Dylan's power of attorney document. "I already have arrangements," he says clearly. "My wife handles everything I need." His voice is weak from illness, but his mind is obviously sharp. Dylan's aggressive pressure tactics play out in full view of the court. His frustrated comments about keeping me uninformed. His manipulation attempts when Easton refuses to sign. The contrast between his public grief and private scheming is stark and undeniable. "Your Honor," Ms. Willis says, "these recordings were made by the decedent himself, using a security system he installed months before his death. They show premeditated attempts to circumvent his stated wishes and exclude his legal wife from important decisions." Mr. Stone objects repeatedly, claiming the videos are invasive and irrelevant. But Judge Michelson overrules each objection. This evidence directly addresses the mental capacity and undue influence allegations. "I'll allow it." The trap Easton said is closing perfectly. During a brief recess, Dylan tries to corner me in the hallway. "Look, we can work something out," he says, his cocky demeanor replaced by desperation. "Split everything 3 ways, forget about the contest." But something hard and final has crystallized inside me. "You called me a thief," I reply quietly. "You tried to steal from your own father while he was dying. The only thing you'll get from me now is exactly what you deserve." He starts to argue, but the bailiff steps between us. Back in court, Ms. Willis presents the bank evidence and Eli's testimony about the safe. Each piece of evidence builds the same picture. Dylan and Paige systematically attempted to access Easton's assets without authorization while claiming to protect his interests. Judge Michelson reviews the no contest clause carefully. Any beneficiary who challenges this will without good faith basis forfeits their entire inheritance. "Do you still wish to proceed with your contest?" Mr. Stone confers with his clients, but there's no backing down now. They've come too far to quit. The final piece of evidence is Easton's medical records, but not the ones Dylan and Paige expect. Ms. Willis presents documentation from Easton's oncologist showing he was mentally alert and oriented throughout his treatment. Cancer patients often remain cognitively intact even during aggressive therapy, the doctor testifies via video. More importantly, Easton's own testimony exists in the videos. His clear explanations of his decisions. His frustration with his children's behavior. His deliberate choice to protect me and the assets we'd built together during our marriage. "I want the lake house to go to my wife," he says directly to the camera in one clip. "She's the only one who truly loves it." Dylan and Paige see $signs. She sees home. His words carry more weight than any lawyer's argument. Judge Michelson asks if either party has additional evidence. Mr. Stone shakes his head, knowing they're beaten. Dylan and Paige stare at the table, their confidence completely shattered. The truth has emerged exactly as Easton planned it would. Judge Michelson's voice fills the silent courtroom. Based on the evidence presented, this court finds no credible proof of undue influence or diminished mental capacity. The decedent's wishes were clearly stated and legally executed. Dylan's shoulders slump. Paige dabs her eyes with a tissue. Furthermore, the judge continues, the court finds substantial evidence of attempted interference with estate assets by the contestants. The security footage demonstrates a pattern of deceptive behavior and unauthorized access attempts. He looks directly at Dylan and Paige. The no contest clause in this will was clear and unambiguous. By proceeding with this challenge despite lack of good faith evidence, you have forfeited your inheritance rights under the terms established by your father. The gavel falls with finality. Contest dismissed. Inheritance forfeited. Justice served exactly as Easton intended. Ms. Willis squeezes my hand under the table. He would be proud, she whispers. Through my tears, I know she's right. Outside the courthouse, reporters wait with cameras and microphones. The story has attracted local media attention. Stepchildren lose inheritance after hidden camera exposes scheme. I decline interviews and slip away through a side entrance. My phone buzzes with supportive messages. John texts, saw the news. Truth always wins. Sharon calls. Justice served. Easton is smiling somewhere. Even Eli sends a simple message. Glad I could help. But the victory feels bittersweet. I wanted my stepchildren to accept me, to honor their father's memory together. Instead, greed destroyed any possibility of family unity. Easton tried to bridge that gap for 2 years, but some bridges can't be built. At home, I find a sympathy card in my mailbox from Mrs. Kelly at the bank. Your husband was a wise man, she wrote. He knew how to protect what mattered most. Inside the card is a small key with a note. Safety deposit box 247. He wanted you to have this when the time was right. The safety deposit box contains more than money and documents. Easton left me a letter, written in his careful handwriting during his final weeks. If you're reading this, then my children proved me right about their true nature. It begins. I'm sorry you had to see them this way. He explains the security system, the careful documentation, the legal traps he set. I hoped they'd surprise me, but I prepared for disappointment. You deserved better from them. You deserved better from me too, for putting you through this. The letter continues with instructions for managing his business, personal messages of love, and advice for moving forward. Don't let their bitterness poison your memories of us. Build something beautiful with what I've left you. Live the life we planned together, even if you have to live it alone. At the bottom, he adds, P.S. Check the lake house basement. I left you one more surprise. My hands shake as I fold the letter. Even in death, Easton is still taking care of me, still planning our future together. At the lake house, I find the basement surprise. Architectural plans for a renovation we discussed but never started. A craft room where I could pursue my quilting hobby. A reading nook with built-in bookshelves. Space for the art studio I'd always dreamed of. Attached to the plans is a contractor's estimate and a check for the full amount, signed and dated a week before Easton died. For my wife's dream room, he wrote in the memo line, because she deserves beautiful things. The gesture breaks my heart and heals it simultaneously. I spend the afternoon walking through the house, imagining the changes. Windows here, built-in storage there. A fireplace in the studio for winter mornings. This place will become my sanctuary, my fresh start, my tribute to a love that transcended death and betrayal. As sunset paints the lake gold and pink, I call the contractor. I'd like to start those renovations, I tell him. As soon as possible. Easton gave me more than money and property. He gave me permission to be happy again. 6 months later, the craft room is finished. Sunlight streams through new windows onto my quilting table. The reading nook holds books Easton and I collected together, mixed with new titles about healing and hope. The art studio waits for me to find courage to paint again. Dylan and Paige haven't contacted me since the trial. I heard through mutual friends that Dylan moved to another state, taking a job with his uncle's company. Paige apparently went back to school, claiming she needs a fresh start away from family drama. Sometimes I feel guilty about their lost inheritance. But then I remember the videos, the lies, the complete disrespect for their dying father's wishes. Easton knew them better than I did. He protected his legacy the only way he could. My phone rings. It's Ms. Willis with news that the district attorney reviewed the evidence and decided not to pursue criminal charges. The attempted fraud wasn't successful, and the civil penalties were severe enough, she explains. Justice served, chapter closed. I volunteer at the local hospice now, helping families navigate end-of-life decisions. Too many people face what Easton and I went through: relatives who circle like vultures, legal battles that destroy relationships, greed that poisons grief. Document everything. I tell worried spouses. Trust but verify. Protect yourself and honor your loved one's wishes. Some take my advice seriously. Others think they're immune to family betrayal. I was one of those optimistic people once. The lake house has become my permanent home. I sold the city condo and moved here full-time, closer to the water and memories that comfort rather than haunt me. The basement renovation is complete, filled with creative projects and quiet contentment. On Easton's birthday, I take flowers to his grave and update him on my life. The business is thriving under new management. The house is beautiful. I'm learning to be happy again, just as he wanted. Thank you, I whisper to his headstone. For everything. For the love, the protection, the second chance. Today marks 1 year since the trial ended. I'm hosting a small gathering at the lake house. Ms. Willis, John, Sharon, Eli, and a few other friends who supported me through the nightmare. We raise glasses of Easton's favorite wine and toast to truth, justice, and second chances. He'd be proud of how strong you've become, Ms. Willis says. John adds, and how you turned pain into purpose. They're right. The betrayal broke something in me, but it also revealed strength I didn't know I possessed. As my guests leave, I turn off the outside lights and lock the doors. The security system beeps softly, a sound that once meant surveillance and suspicion. Now, it just means safety, protection, home. I don't need hidden cameras anymore. The truth did what truth always does when given room to breathe. It stood up. It stood strong. And it stood by me when I needed it most. I frame Easton's final letter and hang it above his old desk, next to our wedding photo. Tomorrow I start painting again, bright colors that reflect hope instead of sorrow. The past taught me about betrayal, but the future holds only possibility.